Good evening and welcome to the Business Day. I'm Andrea Chisholm. The Statistical Institute of Jamaica STATIN is reporting that the unemployment rate has fallen to 3.6% as of January 2026. STATIN also released key findings from its January 2026 labor force survey, which show that the economy contracted by 7.1% for the October to December quarter of December 2025. Deidre Thomas has details.
According to the January 2026 labor force survey, the number of people employed declined by 30,000 compared with the same period last year, bringing total employment to approximately 1.39 million.
The unemployment is at 3.6% based on our January 2026 labor force survey, and that is compared to 3.7% for the January 2025 labor force survey. So the unemployment rate is down slightly, but it should be noted that it's not statistically significant. A few things to note: while the unemployment rate is the main indicator coming out of the labor force, there are several other numbers to pay attention to.
Deputy Director General of STATIN, Dr. Natalie Simpson, says the country is experiencing a contraction in the labor force, with more people moving outside of it. This comes as the number of people outside of the labor force increased by 32,900.
The January labor force will take into consideration much of what happened post Hurricane Melissa. And so I spoke earlier to some of the changes in the 5 parishes that is impacting the overall movement that we're seeing. So if you look at the unemployment among youth, quarter over quarter, you would have been seeing, differences. So this is a particularly different quarter, and really looking at some of the effects that we're seeing coming out of Hurricane Melissa. Not to say that it is not important to look at the unemployment rate for youth. It is in fact important, but just also noting that this particular quarter would have some circumstances coming out of Hurricane Melissa.
Beyond the employment trends, for the October to December 2025 quarter, the economy contracted by 7.1%, resulting from declines in both the goods-producing and the services industries.
The goods-producing industries declined by 10.7%, and this was largely attributed to declines in agriculture, forestry, and fishing, which contracted by 17.7%. The services industries contracted by 5.9%.
Most service industries also recorded a decline except for finance and insurance and public administration and defense services.
Accommodation and food services contributed the largest to the decline. This industry fell by 31.0% and accounted for 42.4% of the overall decline in the services industries. Other notable declines included electricity, water, and waste management, which fell by 11.7%, wholesale retail trade, repair of motor vehicles, installation of machinery and equipment, which fell by 2.2%.
According to STATIN, the institution deployed an abridged version of the labor force survey questionnaire to the western parishes of St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, St. James, Hanover, and Trelawney. Deidre Thomas, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, economist Keenan Faulkner says the impact of the economy contracting by 7.1% is still significant.
We had an idea of what it would be, and now it's consistent with PIOJ's initial projections. The goods producing sector declined a little more heavily, but the services sector showed some amount of resilience. So we are still on track for recovery in positive growth by late 2026, early 2027, but full pre-Melissa output in terms of real value added output will not recover for another potentially 3 years.
As for youth unemployment, Mr. Faulkner says while it remains relatively steady at around 10%, there needs to be a shift in focus towards higher value employment.
So a lot of employment is tied to the accommodation, food, retail, and services sectors, and that was disrupted very heavily by Hurricane Melissa. But when we experience certain shocks, there may not be as much resilience in some of those sectors versus others. The financial sector showed some amount of resilience, as well as public administration and government, but all other sectors declined. Consequently, with it, there was a drop in employment levels, including, of course, as you would expect, agriculture also fell.
JetBlue is raising its bag fees as the war with Iran dries up the cost of fuel. Those who travel on JetBlue will now be charged $39 for pre-purchasing a checked bag. That's an increase of $4. Customers who wait until the day of their flight to pay for checked bags will have to pay an extra $10. Travelers flying during peak periods like summer or a holiday will also get charged a premium to check a bag. Nothing changes for JetBlue frequent flyer status holders and those who have co-branded JetBlue credit cards. They will still get to check their first bags for free. To the stock market now, the JSE index advanced by 1,132 points today, while the junior market advanced by 55 points. The winners include G West Corporation, Kingston Properties, 138 Student Living Jamaica Preference Shares, Caribbean Cream, and Sagicor Real Estate X Fund. The losers include Margaritaville Turks, Guardian Holdings, AMG Packaging and Paper Company, Lasco Manufacturing, and Cygnus Credit Investments US dollar shares. 17 stocks traded firm. Foreign exchange trading ended with banks and cambios selling the US dollar for an average $158.58. The Canadian dollar is being sold for $116.18. The pound is going for $210.01, while the euro is selling for an average $183.63. And that's it for the Business Day. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Good evening.